All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. We've got to make sure because we have big news today. Originally, Tucker Carlson getting canned was going to be the flavor of the day, but then Biden decided to drop his pre-recorded, extremely hyperbolic announcement. Yes, Joe Biden is running for the 2024 nomination for the Democratic Party. He is effectively running unopposed, which means he is nigh on inevitable, unless he croaks or something like that. And of course, that is always possible. So yeah, we've got a lot to unpack today. Don't worry, we'll still get to Tucker Carlson. As an afterthought, we'll also get to Don Lemon being canned within hours of Tucker Carlson. Again, that is coincidental. All of the media shakeups, Bongino, BuzzFeed closing down. Now it looks like Vice might be on the chopping block. These are all coincidences, everything that's happening in the same roughly 1 week period that Joe Biden decides to announce that he wants another 4 years of his stewardship. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about UFOs because they're bugbears. Now I'm going to get into that. For people that, of course, don't understand that, don't worry. I will explain. I will explain exactly. And the cat is currently clawing my leg. You can come up if you want to. People would appreciate seeing you, I'm sure. Come on, kitty. Come on, kitty. I'm trying to coax my co-host onto the set here. Here. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Had to put my legs in the right position. Yeah, see the cat's butt. You know, that's what half of you watch for at this point, too. The IRS whistleblower as well. Actually, didn't I axe that from this? No, I didn't, actually. Okay. For some reason, I thought there was an 8th story that I bounced. Not exactly sure which one it was. Of course, super chats are open on both YouTube and on Rumble. You should answer shit. You know, that's the way that it works. Good capitalism. I do see that we're live on Rumble over there. You know, don't worry. We'll be talking about Don Lemon, the sad sack that he is, and the difference between actually Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon and their literally contemporary firings from their respective media firms. There is a big difference, although it's an inverted difference from the one identified by like the Krasensteins. Steak knife, even the Young Turks saying Biden is hated and will lose. We will get into that. Half this fucking video is probably going to be dedicated to talking about senile Biden. Steward Biden. He's really not a president. He's a steward because he can't even decide what he eats for breakfast. His wife chooses for him. It's a little bit like... which president was it? About 100 years ago, Woodrow Wilson. He had a stroke in his term, and all of a sudden his signature changed. And some people say, well, yeah, I mean, he had a stroke, so, you know, maybe your handwriting's different. Looks an awful lot like his wife's handwriting on those bills from the latter part of his presidency. The Grizzly. Well, I wasn't going to vote for DeSantis anyway. There's a 10-second clip I saw over Twitter where he was asked about being behind against Trump, and his response was terrible. I don't know why he was having the shakes over it. Yeah, DeSantis has been flubbing it multiple times. Again, I made a video this morning. Lay off the dude until he announces maybe a little bit. And like, you know, the meatball run thing may be fun, but he's not necessarily running. He is a popular governor. He's doing his job there in Florida, so I don't see any reason to dogpile him. If he chooses to run, that's a different story. Then, of course, you know, if you're Team Trump, you're going to dogpile him. If you're Team DeSantis, you'll do the same thing to Big Dan. Nobody else matters. You think anyone cares about fucking Nikki Haley at this point? Biden will be the nominee for the Democrats unless he croaks. In fact, let's just get into this. As a link in the description to the announcement, Joe Biden launches his campaign for president. Let's finish the job. So let's finish, you know, the United States off, basically. You know, let's kill what is left of the republic. That's basically his message. Not ratioed yet. You can always drop a downvote on that video, by the way. People like myself who have an extension in order to see downvote still can actually see that. We are falling behind. We must downvote harder. Don't worry, I did my part. Anyway. First, I'd like to mention, despite the time of day in which the video dropped, isn't it a little bit telling that at this particular juncture, only a few thousand people have even fucking seen a major party presidential announcement by a sitting incumbent who supposedly is very popular? 82 million votes, 10 scoops of ice cream and all this stuff. A little bit on the telling side. They're going to have to bot the engagement up a little bit in order to justify his run, I suppose, for the YouTube audience, the millennial core audience anyway. Secondly, what does it open up with? Look at the optics of this video. You should watch it after this live stream is over. Just copy the link out, pop it into a notepad file or whatever the fuck you phone users do. What does it start out with? Is it something about Joe Biden or is it something about somebody else? Well, it's footage from J6. It's footage from the riot, which they claim to be an insurrection from J6. Well, this is basically he's trying to echo like Roosevelt or Churchill or something. Well, this is the struggle of our time. This is what we're up against. This is what we must defeat. This fires and people waving flags. Oh my God, that's so terrible and so violent. People rioting and so yeah, the Democratic Party. I guess their platform is rioting bad. That's not going to go over well with the inner city vote, Joe. Just so you know, I realize they have a double standard about this. Really, really funny. And I mean, I don't even understand quite the messaging of his initial pitch for his campaign, because basically it's, hey, I've accomplished things that partisan Democrats believe are good, well, or at least the left usually, and Orange Man bad. That appears to be his entire campaign platform at this particular time. Now, he just barely announced his campaign a few hours ago, so we'll give him some slack. We'll assume that Creepy Joe is going to add a few more planks onto the life raft that is slowly swirling down the river towards the waterfall. Now, not to be flippant here, though, the fact is this. Joe Biden is not qualified to be the president of the United States. He has much lower disapproval for running than Trump does among the general population. For the purposes of this live stream, we're not even going to bother talking about anyone else because I believe it is now effectively inevitable, unless someone dies, that it will be Biden v. Trump. I think that Joe Biden is convinced that he can win, in part because of honk honk. I think that is the ethos. Here's the no-win situation for the GOP. Well, let's say they take the draconian step of trying to ban Trump from running and say, well, you may be front runner, you may have all the delegates and all the support, but we're not going to let you run. We refuse to do so. And that could, by the way, happen. The RNC could officially repudiate Donald Trump and try to use the election commission to keep him off the ballot. Well, then they lose. It doesn't matter exactly who they nominate. They could coronate somebody, Mike Pence, Ted Cruz, or whatever. They wouldn't win. It'd be impossible. Let's say they let him go forth and actually run. Donald Trump may be running from house arrest at that point. They may be crazy enough to do that. Joe Biden, in any sane time, would not be considered reelectable. It would be impossible. He's too old. He's too infirm. He hasn't actually accomplished anything. And the legislative successes that are peddled from the 2022 election are predicated upon the GOP sabotaging itself, which I do believe it will attempt to do it again in 24. Here's the unknown factor, though. While there will be honking, while they do intend to select Joe Biden for another 4 years of stewardship, he is clearly the unipartyist candidate. He's probably going to be up against the Maverick. They're going to do everything that they can to swamp Trump with indictments, et cetera, et cetera. You can look forward to that from Georgia next month or the month after. While they're trying to do that, here's the real thing. Joe Biden would not, under normal circumstances, be electable. They believe that they can honk their way into him getting another 4 years to be a puppet. The problem is that Joe Biden is not particularly healthy. He's had several aneurysms. In the last couple of years, he's had half a dozen or so falls on his bike, Air Force One, chasing his dog in the shower, supposedly to pull its tail and then breaking his foot at one point. He is not well. He is not mentally all there, but even if we overlook that, physically speaking, he's also not all there. He's in his 80s. He's an old man, and people that are in their 80s, sometimes their heart stops in the middle of the goddamn night, and it's death by natural causes. What could happen is that Joe Biden croaks. He literally croaks on the campaign trail. I do not expect him to do much active campaigning. I expect them to hide him effectively and tell the public, well, he's the president. He's got a job to do. He doesn't have time to do that. He's delivering for the American people, so he can't be bothered to actually go and talk to them about their concerns. They're going to continue hiding Biden. He could die anyway, though. He could be incapacitated. He could have a stroke. He could end up not even knowing his own name. That really is the fake card of the election. And based on what we've seen over the last few elections, anything is game at this point. Nonetheless, in a Biden v. Trump matchup, obviously I'm voting Trump. I don't care if he's found guilty by the Alvin Bragg bullshit. I don't care if he's indicted in Georgia. I will be voting for him. Joe Biden is uniquely unqualified for the job that he wants to do, which is be steward of the United States. Again, under the normal system, we would be questioning whether a presidency was legitimate if a person clearly had Alzheimer's disease. There were even murmurings towards the end of Ronald Reagan's second term. Well, is this even a thing that he's leading us? Because he's starting to act a little bit fuzzy. Ronald Reagan, even at the very end of his term, in his literal farewell speech, significantly more coherent than Joe Biden. But they will attempt to honk. That will happen. It's inevitable. What needs to happen now over the next year is a floor game, local and state level, to do everything possible to defortify the election system. Otherwise, no matter who the candidate is against Biden, unless it's a unipartyist, they will lose. This would be the case for Trump. We know that he's not a unipartyist. The actions of the uniparty belie that. If you are a DeSantis fan, and some of you are, if you genuinely believe that he is the more reasonable, sophisticated, more chiseled version of MAGA, then he is fundamentally incapable of winning under any circumstances whatsoever, unless the election system is fixed and fixed now. The same would go for whoever other candidate you would happen to prefer. Let's say Trump dies tomorrow. Rand Paul gets in. I like Rand Paul. He's a good person. I would vote for him. But he can't win against the uniparty candidate unless that system is fixed. Here's the problem. And I talked about it in 2016. The reason why the general election in 2016 wasn't honked in favor of the obviously uniparty Hillary Clinton is that typically the uniparty doesn't need to do anything in the general election. They make sure that two controlled opposition candidates win the primaries, which are much easier to influence by money, by, shifting the debates around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're capable. They've been done it a dozen times before. Like Obama v. Romney, who cares? They're the same thing. Obama v. McCain. George W. v. Kerry. George W. v. Gore. They're unipartyists. It doesn't matter who wins. As long as the two parties are both run by the unipartyist head in the electoral sense, they don't need to do anything in a general election. So they got sloppy. What happened is that originally they genuinely thought that Trump was joking around until about after Super Tuesday, and then they realized, oh shit, we fucked up really bad. They couldn't con enough of the other candidates to come together to oppose him on a unity ticket, and so he ended up being nominated. But they didn't have time to screw with the general election in any way. It was totally fair. Honk, honk, this totally didn't change. 2020 was perfect, and then 2022 as well. There was no influence over that election by the GOP unipartyists by screwing their own candidates. So what you need, if you want Trump to win, and again, there's a 99% chance he is the Republican nominee. If he gets indicted in Georgia, it just ups his chances more because the GOP MAGA base is incorrigible, and I don't think that it matters how many indictments there are because they're seen for what they are. They're kangaroo court political witch hunts. If you want Trump to have a chance, though, you're going to have to do things as well. You can't expect God Emperor Trump to simply do it all himself. Now, part of that is ballot harvesting. Trump has already lined that up. Other people need to get involved too. Knock on doors, spout from the rooftops about how shitty Joe Biden is. It doesn't even matter if you want to hand out dossiers on all the things that Trump accomplished. Fuck that. Just point out what Joe Biden has done wrong. The other fake card that could come up is a recession, a severe economic downturn. We are hearing reports from virtually all qualified bankers and economists and business people right now. Red alert, it's not looking good for the year that we're in now, certainly not the subsequent year. If that were to happen, Joe Biden would take a hit. But again, ballot printers, et cetera, we can't say any more on a YouTube live stream, of course. Things will get fishy. I do suspect that. And I suspect that's the goal. The goal is to very transparently do so if it's necessary and to rub it in people's faces. Or if Trump doesn't get the nomination, MAGA will sit it out and they can't win. So the unipartyist candidate wins. By the way, I would make a pitch. I know that no liberals will pay attention, but if they were intelligent, they would. Do you want the first female president of the United States to be a selected rather than elected individual? Do you want the old white man to die, leading to the first female president of color, which is so important to you, being the president of the United States, Kamala Harris? I don't think that would be good for your progressive systems. Just putting that out there, because when you elect an 83-year-old man, there's always the chance that that presidency ends prematurely. It could happen on the campaign trail. Again, that's fake card number one. So we'll see what happens. But Joe Biden is, I would say he's crazy enough to run, but it's not really crazy because, the uniparty, the deep state clearly is lock, stock, and barrel behind him. Big tech is behind him. The legacy media, including Fox, we'll talk about Tucker separately. They're clearly behind Biden. They're riding with Biden. When you've got that amount of money and that amount of influence behind the candidate, you're fighting an uphill battle to stop that from happening. Joe Biden is aware of this. And apparently he was a good enough puppet for them to want to keep him on their hand for another term. So, Joe Biden is actually running for the presidency. Let's see. Reformed Sauron, Biden in? That's a poison pill. Make it 5 times harder to sell another honking, especially as things are likely to get quite worse economically. I'm loving it. Biden may inadvertently be their demise. That's the hope, but it requires a lot of footwork on behalf of the people that want to restore the Republican savior from Bidenomics. BW, don't matter. Chumps will vote for him because orange man bad. RFK and Williamson too smart to run third party. That remains to be seen on RFK Jr.'s part, actually. We'll see. That's another possible spoiler. Jake Martin, Styx is a river to his people. Doubt Shadow, congrats to Detective Phil Bowman of Buffalo, earning the promotion after beating a confession out of a suspect he found hidden inside his PJ pants. Ozzy's Robots. Biden's YouTube channel has 699K subs, 81 million votes. Well, YouTube isn't the end-all, be-all of all, broadcasting. He's got the entire legacy media spouting off against him, for him all day. But it is telling the rather low ratio there. True Sinister. If Biden won last time, what's to stop it from happening again? Maybe it's just me, but it seems like since Trump became president, the other side makes their own rules in an unprecedented, ridiculous way. Yes, they do, which is why you have to learn how to bend the rules and how to get around them. By the way, the baby is upstairs. You'll probably hear some whining up there during the broadcast. My apologies. Quirrell, hi Styx, fan since 2018. You should really try Deus Ex. It's a great game and predicted a lot of things that are happening in the world. Yes, I see it talked about quite often. NJ and the MJ. Styx, I like to clank with a fork. Therefore, I want to tell everyone to go and fork themselves. Make America the best again. Captain Cannabis, CNN and Fox taking Carlson and Lemon off the air right before Biden announced his bid is kind of fishy. Shout out to Alex, who can never catch this live. I do agree with you that the timing is suspicious, although with Don Lemon, he's been on his way out for months now, so that may actually just be a coincidence. Ashley, what if he croaks during the debate with Big T? Imagine the optics. Yeah, that could happen. That's the problem. If they even hold debates, they'll probably try not to. You watch. They'll attempt to not do so. They'll use some sort of excuse for it. Steak Knife. Any news on who's running for the Libertarian Party? It's clearly going to be Joe Exotic. No, I don't know exactly who's going to be running for them, but I have a feeling in a Trump v. Biden rematch, it's going to be an afterthought. BW, did S really say mission to destroy America? S? I don't know who that is. If you mean Biden, it seems to be his mission. Trash Panda, vote for Joe Biden is a vote for World War III. True, exactly. Ozzy's Robots, the USA is overdue for a French-style uprising. I didn't say it, Ozzy did. Casey Bengry, thanks for the audience, Styx. I was up all night not drinking piss light, answering questions, and I loved it. Congratulations. Early life check. Your assessment of why Tucker was fired is correct. It's about the regime regaining narrative control, and they're so desperate they're willing to sacrifice companies to rid themselves of dissent, e.g. Project Veritas and now Fox. I agree. We'll get to Tucker Carlson in a minute. The Grizzly. It'll have to be Georgia and Arizona that defortify. Michigan and Wisconsin are completely fortified and will not be defortified. He'll basically have to win without every Rust Belt state, save for Indiana and Ohio. Yes, there will be chicanery, but we won't elaborate on that for the purposes of this live stream. Andrew Espinoza, Morning Sticks, would you briefly explain how we aren't currently in a recession? I thought last year we were, despite the lies. Did we recover and I not notice we reset? We were in a mini recession because we had 2 subsequent quarters of negative growth. We have had positive growth so far since thereafter. We are not currently in a dictionary definition recession. We have economic problems, but it's not recessionary conditions. But that is what they are looking forward to, generally towards middle, late this year. That is the expectation. If we don't end up in a recession, they'll be praising Biden for his excellent strategic management skills. Not a bad account. Any end to shows for kids being subversive? No. Josh and Jesus, what would Tupac's politics be today? Probably separatism at this point. Andrew Espinoza, second question. Should Kennedy run independent to siphon Dem votes? I think he would also siphon Republican votes. I don't think he could be a spoiler because of his given stated views. Ozzy's Robots, I'm skeptical of Tucker's character. We'll see if a golden parachute NDA shuts him up through the election. If he has balls, he'd refuse a payoff. Yeah, that's the other thing. We don't know exactly behind the scenes what sort of severance package he got. BW, Soros. New Neanderthal, RFK Jr. could easily Ross Perot Biden running. I disagree. I think that he would siphon as many votes from the GOP, specifically the I like Trump's ideals, except for that whole medical thing that we can't talk about on YouTube part. I think that he would siphon them, and he would siphon a few points from Biden. Apache, French Uprising was a spinoff of the American one. Testing 2741, reps haven't learned to bend the rules. Dems win 24. That remains to be seen. We've still got a year and a half to go, so we'll see what happens. Over on Rumble, Citizen Zero. What are the chances RFK Jr. can be red-pilled? Sounds like he is on a couple of issues, but he's still a standard corporate liberal. And then Citizen Zero also became a monthly supporter. Still don't know how that works exactly over on Rumble, but yeah, thank you for the support. And next news story, Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. I talked about that this morning. I also did a short the other day. I had no choice. To get ahead of the news cycle, I had to do that. I hate the fact that I have to do YouTube shorts now, but if the baby is asleep or there's something else going on, the only place I have to record is the shed, and I'm not going to buy a second fucking computer setup and set it up out in the goddamn tool shed. So I'll just take my phone out there and do it that way. Anyway, Tucker Carlson the other day got canned by Fox News. This happens to be only shortly after he interviewed Donald Trump. It happened, by the way, Don Lemon, there was the Vivek Ramaswamy interview there too. People are putting 2 and 2 together at this time. What I see here with Fox is the deep state consolidating. This is effectively all of the investment firms behind Fox's parent company, including BlackRock and Vanguard and all the same groups that, by the way, have huge holdings in CNN and similar groups, pulling the trigger, dropping the hammer. This is them saying, look, we don't have a problem with controlled opposition on your network, but this is a little bit too uncontrolled. Tucker Carlson has gone rogue, and we want you to fire him. Otherwise, we'll pull our investments and leave your company hemorrhaging money. And other investors will follow as your stock and et cetera falls, and you'll be left with absolutely nothing. This is the nature of globalism, by the way. It's the methodology by which subversive Marxists gain control over companies that don't even have to themselves be run or incepted by Marxists themselves. Hey, here's $1 billion for you. Mafia style, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You owe me a favor. It'd be a shame if your business were to suddenly lose my $1 billion now that you've spent most of it on expanding. It'd be terrible. You'd go bankrupt. You'd have to sell your business. This is the way that it works. And if you don't take the money, then you don't expand as quickly as your competitors, and then you end up sucking hind tit. So it's basically a no-win game for anyone with principles. You have to go with the global hegemon, or else you get fucked in the ass one way or the other. Fox News, as I've stated for years and years now, is legacy media. They are the same as CNN, MSNBC, etc. It's partially because of the investment schemes that go on behind closed doors. It's partially because globalists literally own and run the company. If you think that Rupert Murdoch is a populist, it's Rupert Murdoch that we're talking about. What the fuck are you thinking? Tucker Carlson, at the end of the day, was basically allowed to be there. Number one, he did bring in a lot of money, a large amount of audience. But number two, because he could be kept on some degree of leash. But the people behind closed doors complained about him one too many times, said, look, we're going to flee if you don't kick him off. And now we have an excuse to let him go, which is the Dominion lawsuit. That is the reason why they let him go, but it is just the facade reason. It is simply the excuse. They don't want anyone on there who would want to platform Donald Trump, because their entire 24 strategy is to starve him of oxygen. They're trying to return the favor that Trump did to the GOP field in 2016. This was analyzed even by the legacy media at the time. His biggest draw was the fact that he would say off-the-wall, edgy shit, and he would get all the attention. Nobody else could get a foot in the door, which is also why they banned him on legacy tech. That's why he was originally banned on Twitter. That's why he was banned on Facebook and Insta. That's why he was banned on YouTube. He's back on these platforms now, although he's not using Twitter, which I think unwise. There's a problem, but that was the whole ethos. The whole principle was starve him of oxygen and let him wither. And when he didn't wither away, and now he's the GOP frontrunner, they want to take more action. Part of that is an agreed upon but unwritten sort of concept that the legacy media will talk as little about Trump as possible unless it's about his legal woes. And so if you have a couple of people at Fox or wherever that would be willing to interview him, they have to go. Meanwhile, Don Lemon gets axed. We'll talk about that separately. Anyway, if you still pay any attention to Fox, don't. If you use their website, make sure to archive things before you share them out. That's what I do all of the time. I do that to Fox the same way that I do CNN. By the way, my general principles and ethos have aged like goddamn fine wine on the issue of the corporate media now, haven't they? When was the first time I started warning people about Fox? Goddamn 5-6 years ago or something. Yeah, before I had a single gray hair, I was talking about it. Jesus Christ. Learn to accept good counsel. Johansson Socks, love your work. Think there's going to be an uptick in illegal fishing and hunting when things crash? Possibly. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. More Biltong fun money. Io pee poo poo check. Clank, finally got to catch you live. When do you predict the next American Civil War to take place? Love your content. Keep it up, homie. I don't think it will. I think that sometime in the next, about 100 years from now, will collapse. That would be my time frame. Based on the 200-year empire, we get about 100 years left. We're moving towards technically the empire period, having been more puristically legislative before that, until roughly the end of the Civil War Reconstruction era. We've still got time, but it won't be another Civil War. It'll be worse than that. And that's assuming we don't have a worldwide nuclear war or something beforehand, which we may very well. Space Cadet, your shorts are great. Keep doing them. Hi to the wife. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't like the shorts. I like to do long form rants. I prefer streaming over shorts generally. But I have no choice. It's the only way to preempt the news cycle from my time zone, so might as well. Testing 2741. Tucker was only notable anti-World War III pundit and aware of the worsening recession. Had to shut him up before the big war following Depression. Musically Assured Destruction. Thoughts on Dave Landau leaving Louder with Crowder? Lots of juicy details in his interview with Michael Malice. No, I don't have any thoughts on that because I haven't seen that news. I'll look into it. Aussie's Robots. We noticed big tech's purge and suppression started months ago. What if all the major large creators band together and either negotiated favorable terms via contract or all walked en masse to alt tech? Enjoy convincing them to do so. I have been spending years and years begging and pleading major content creators, look, there's another site here that may be niche now but could really take off. Get on that site and reap the rewards. Who listens to me? How many other major content creators even do exclusive material like I do? I do it every day. How many others do that? None of them, basically. You know, they get banned, so they move exclusively to another platform, like Crowder on Rumble or whatever, or they don't do it at all. They tell people once, hey, I have a BitChute channel, link in the description. They never mention it again. Hey, I'm on Rumble. They cross stream, but then they don't do any independent content that's unique to that platform. I think that I'm doing a better job at this. I'm tooting my own horn with regards to new tech. On that one thing, at least, I am entitled. Garbage Brain, what's up, Sticks? Sam Hyde has given you high praise and said you are his only trusted news source. Thoughts? Yeah, apparently he mentioned me some time ago. People mentioned that he mentioned me constantly. I don't even know when this happened. The Grizzly, what do you think of Trump's chances of winning 24 with Hong Kong? Do you think he's still viable if even one or two of the states do de-honk themselves? Yes, I think he is viable. It's likely the economy will collapse out from under us before the election. That is one of the aces up Trump's sleeve in his running. Patchy, if the Dems honk 24, is it officially over? I'm almost wondering if we can make it to the 24 election because I can see tensions getting that bad. I think there will be upset and unrest regardless of who wins. If Biden wins, MAGA fans will be really socially alienated. If Trump wins, all the pink hat wearers will go do their primal scream therapy on their TikTok videos. Same shit, different asshole. We'll survive. It's just what form do we survive in? Next news story. Newly released UFO video broken down frame by Pentagon official. Truly anomalous. I'm just going to point this out here because I don't have any time to spend on bullshit stories about little green men. When the government is, or individuals within the government are telling you, hey, UFOs, we're actually looking into them. Number one, they have to, as far as, the reason for those agencies goes. And number two, they're not taking it seriously that there are little green men in the flying saucer or the drone-like object or the flying cigar or the hovering sphere. They're not taking that seriously at all. They're laughing at you when you do. They are not aliens. They are government aircraft. Natural anomalies that in some cases may not be fully understood. Just look into ball lightning sometime if you want an example, and shit like that. But it's really a good distraction now, isn't it? You've got major political problems going on. You've got corruption and scandals of every goddamn sword and size all over the world. You've got wars and rumors of wars. We're evacuating from Sudan. Ukraine's blowing up. China's doing stupid shit with regards to Taiwan. You've got political upheaval between Colombia and Venezuela right now over Guaido, actually. You've got all of these problems in the world. Look up to the skies. Don't focus on anything down here. The Pentagon is looking into flying saucers. Well, of course it is. It's part of its job. And you know what they'll find? Or they'll find either nothing, because there's no evidence one way or the other than a notoriously grainy stills or a really, really low resolution video. You'd think that they could probably figure out a 2K feed for the computers up in F-16 fighters, but apparently they haven't invented the concept yet. Anyway, they'll either find absolutely nothing, no evidence one way or the other, and then they'll hold it over people's head and say, well, here's a shiny thing, get distracted by it. Or they will find out that it is some sort of aircraft that is domestically made in the world. It's not from Mars. It's not from Venus. It's not from, Europa. It's not from the next galaxy over. It was made in the United States or Russia or China or something like that. UFOs, in my opinion, are never little green men. I do not believe that any significantly advanced life form, and it would need to be significantly advanced in order to send a vehicle, autonomous or manned, to this planet from clearly outside of our star system, would give a shit about this planet. I can't imagine they would take the risk of sending a probe actually to Earth and then bringing it back one way or the other anyway, because again, this world is filled with a shroud of oxidizing material and bacteria and viruses and shit. Why the hell would you take the risk unless you were insane? It's a little bit insane when we bring back rockets, craft from other planets, like when we landed on the moon and then came back. Do you realize that they held them in a decontamination chamber for several weeks after they came back, right? Nick Ray, should Ohio worry about honking in 2024? No, Ohio doesn't need to worry about that. Saber Iran, now, brown meow. Was looking forward to the Don and Ron campaign. The merchandise would have been great. Honk, honk, clank, clank, chip, chip, cheerio. Interesting. Yeah, it won't be Trump DeSantis. He's ruled it out. Apache. Trump fans are too afraid to do anything because J6. Leftists will continue to riot with no pushback from the authorities. Depends on where you are in the U.S. That is a handful of inner city areas and a couple of blue states. Don't get black-pilled about it. F. Winters loading 152. Fox hosts Sean Hannity and Mark Levin interview Trump pretty often and give good content, in my opinion. What do you think of them and their fate at Fox? They're either controlled opposition or they get canned. I've said it about the network. Now I expect that people say, well, Sean Hannity's still there, so sticks his point, which we used to say was invalid because Tucker was there. Now it's invalid because Sean Hannity is there. You've moved the goalposts way out of the populistic field towards neoconservatism if you're simping for him. Testing 2741. The fact Biden's actually running, allegedly, well, no, they've released an official campaign video. He is clearly running. Means very bad things are coming. Only way he can win, distract and scare and silence folks like Tucker. He's more interested in censoring people like you and me. Andrus Sobel, hi Sticks, the taco over here that new cars in the United States will not have an M radio, so conservative radio will take a hit. Do European cars have a radio? I think they do. A lot of people use Sky Radio and shit like that. But AM radio, I don't think they're going to take that out of cars. And if they did, a lot of the older generation would just mount it. So, Cheese, I've been trolling ghost politics hard lately. I can't believe Biden is running again. He's even more deluded than Chris Chan and his mother. Yeah, he's on a similar mental level to Chris Chan. Similar fetishes, probably, too. Oh, that's Macron. Biden's into the younger generation. Brian Sanborn, how about a roadshow apprentice starring Tucker, Kerry, and Donald Trump? The VP candidates interview Donald for policy and worldview insights at live rallies. That would be funny. Audition to be running mate. It's not a bad idea. A guy under bridge. I need a Trump v. Biden debate rematch. Yes, it would be funny, admittedly. The fact that the Dems are running Biden under normal circumstances would be absolutely apeshit. Honestly, under normal circumstances, running a person under criminal indictment would be apeshit too, though. Let's fully admit to that. Next news story. Don Lemon fired by CNN. That's all I'm going to say about it because Don Lemon is completely a waste of my time. Nobody really cares. I love the juxtaposition between Don Lemon, who got canned because he was knocked out of his primetime slot because nobody's watching. He continued to have nobody watching him, and he gets shit canned. Yet some people on the liberal side of politics are positively comparing him to Tucker Carlson, who had the most watched show of all within all of U.S. news when he was shit canned. There is no comparison. Don Lemon, it would take 50 Don Lemons to equal Tucker's audience? Don Lemon can't get as many people to watch things as I can, and I'm algorithmically throttled on multiple platforms. So, yeah, it was only a matter of time before he was gone. I'm just throwing this in there for the juxtaposition and the humor, number one. And the fact that he came out, he's like, well, they gave me 10 minutes notice to tell me I'd been fired. They didn't even tell me before. They didn't even tell him personally. To show how little they think of Don Lemon after his multiple allegations of, misbehavior on set, being a sexist, sexual assault, I think, actually, and other things. And after his low ratings, they went through his agent. They didn't even tell him personally. They went through his agent. His agent called him and said, hey, you're fired. Bye. So by the way, I'm not your agent anymore. Tucker Carlson wants to hire me. And Donald Trump is taking a victory lap because, of course, Don Lemon is a big TDS sufferer. And I just find it funny. I'm happy Don Lemon is gone, although he'll unfortunately, like shit clinging to your shoe. It falls off one foot and then you accidentally step in it with the other. He'll be on some other network probably, or he'll do a shitty podcast. He'll work with the Krasensteins maybe. Seth and Wolf, CRS Firearms going to Fed prison for 45 over a metal business card with a drawing on it. Yes, I talked about that the other day. It's rather sad, although there is fairly fertile soil here for a repeal. I mean an appeal. I think an appeal will be successful, actually, and maybe make its way to the Supreme Court. Johnny Azul, is it true that Dutch people will only eat a hot lunch or hot dinner, but not both in one day? No, I think it depends on the person. Michael Greco, do you think the U.S. has made any actual advancement in research into anti-gravity propulsion? I would think whoever had that tech would rule the world overnight. Yeah, it's been tested quite clearly. It has to have been. Whether or not it's been successful or not remains to be seen. Ozzy's Robots. Why wouldn't Trump or DeSantis call for some kind of independent creator summit if they really cared about free speech? They could try and move them off big tech in the end. They're too establishment. Well, Trump does have Truth Social. It's not exactly alt tech in the general sense. It's not fully free speech. It's more like basically a subjugate to Twitter for Trump's core fan base when he got canned off Twitter. That being said, looking at literally the first campaign video Donald Trump made being about establishing an internet bill of rights, etc. I like where he's going with the idea. And DeSantis, to his credit, has talked about the overt power of Silicon Valley and other groups and being used for malevolent reasons. So I give them both a pass on that issue. Next news story, really briefly. Robert Reich with some legendary TDS here. Trump committed treason and will try again. He must be barred from running. This is by Robert Reich, who is generally wrong about literally everything he weighs in on. He's got the most severe TDS, I think, of all people. See, here's the problem. It points out the tagline, the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution clearly disqualifies the former president from returning to office, states must act. Here's the problem. Treason would have to be found through legal proceedings. And Congress never found him guilty of treason. And he's not being looked into for treason, by the way, by any of the criminal trials against him. Alvin Bragg's going after him for misdemeanor business fraud that's been artificially upgraded. In Georgia, it has to do with election law. It doesn't have to do with Donald Trump attempting to sell the United States out to a foreign entity or anything like that. Therefore, his point is pure TDS. I think it's mostly clickbait. This is why I fucking archive things. It's clickbait designed to draw in ad revenue, basically, for The Guardian. This is why I posted there his opinion piece on Donald Trump. It's to get attention. He knows that there is no legal methodology by which Trump is going to be found guilty of treason. The worst case scenario for him is he gets found guilty of a bunch of white-collar crimes that in the end result in him getting house arrest and still running for the presidency from the Mar-a-Lago, simply because there's no way that they can put him in a prison when he has to have, under the law, by the way, that Robert Reich constantly rambles and whines about, has to have a security service detail. Well, you can't put them in prison. You can't force them to sleep in a prison cell. So, I mean, it'd be house arrest. He'd just end up locked away in the Mar-a-Lago with a security detail watching him to make sure he doesn't physically leave the grounds. It wouldn't fucking matter. Oh, my God. You're in prison, Mr. Trump. Here, suffer. Yeah, you're in your, 200-room mansion, still running for the presidency. And at that point, because, clearly it's a kangaroo court proceeding, you're probably going to win. You might end up with a weird situation. This is now a measurable possibility. You could end up, yes, I see the camera is fuzzy, so let me try to correct it here. My apologies. You could end up with a situation here where Donald Trump ends up becoming president of the United States for a non-consecutive second term, but technically speaking is under penalty and has to stay at the Mar-a-Lago. You could end up with, are you going to put him under house arrest at the White House? No diplomatic visits or whatever? Where, again, we've already entered untested territory. Under any other reasonable, sane circumstance at any other time in our history, I would never fathom the possibility of these things happening. But now, you've already thrown out 250 years of precedent, legally and civically. Why would I expect anything crazier could possibly happen? There's no reason for me to believe that it's impossible. So Robert Reich is clearly wrong because there has been no treason charge against Donald Trump. Well, treason is a legal definition. It's not, hey, I deem that you have committed treason, therefore you can't run for office. It's not the way it works, Robbie. William Latin, suck ass. YouTube didn't even have you in my feed. Had to search for the channel to get the stream. Clank. Many such cases. They're also algorithmically distorting the number of views on my videos when I upload them to prevent them from trending. And I've seen them doing this. I wasn't born yesterday. Ozzy's Robots. Trump could campaign and still rally via Zoom, etc. Yeah, that'd be funny. A digital only, a Zoom rally with Donald Trump, and it'd probably still get 20 times the number of people watching than the official campaign announcement for Joe Biden. Claudius 1964 on Rumble. What can we expect as the new TDS in 2023? What will they call him out on next? Indictment, He's Hitler 2.0. He's orange. He's too old, which will be funny considering who his opponent is. Things like that. You know, he's sexist, racist. No, they'll the usual. They'll recycle all their old talking points too. Next news story. 6 reasons the IRS whistleblower will blow open DOJ's Biden family protection racket. I'm here to announce, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Here are the 5 points. Number 1, whistleblower has corroborating evidence. That's true. There's evidence of the cover-up of the situation. Number 2, IRS agent is nonpartisan and credentialed. That's more of an opinion than a reality, but we'll see. Number 3, dual authorization was required. The IRS whistleblower's claims that 2 Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys inappropriately and for political reasons declined to seek a tax indictment against Hunter Biden. Yes, indeed. Number 4, criminal violations seem obvious. Obvious and capable of being proven before a jury are often 2 different things, so be hesitant on that one. And number 5, the timing is suspect. Yes, of course, because, you know, elections were going on at the time. Here's the problem. Right now, you have a situation where it looks like the IRS was pressured on the Hunter Biden tax thing. And it is a major scandal. It's again, but you know, the Biden admin has been marked by dozens of major scandals. Do I expect that this one, and once it lasts, let's not fall into the trap of like, hey, we've got him this time, just 2 more weeks, blue and on, et cetera, et cetera. We've heard that from like Democrats now for years. We got him this time. This time, Donald is going to get dragged out of the Mar-a-Lago, kicking and screaming and pooping his pants like a big round egg baby. Let's not do that with Joe Biden. I have no confidence whatsoever in the so-called justice system to actually do anything meaningful with regards to the Biden family. The Biden crime family runs the Justice Department. Why the fuck would they bite the hand that feeds them? So, in short, don't get your hopes up. That's probably not going to happen. The possibility is very vague. It's definitely out there. And then the final news of the day. Former GOP lawmaker and New York gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin endorses Trump. This is a big one. Lee Zeldin was being held up even by uniparty Republicans as being like the whiz kid. Oh my God, he could actually win, which he didn't, and I predicted he wouldn't. In New York, of course, he was running for the gubernatorial slot there. He did a very good job. Partially it was his opponent's weakness, but partially it was Zeldin as a good candidate. His endorsement, I think, matters considerably. This follows, by the way, a few days in the wake of Ron DeSantis losing half of the possible legislative endorsements in Florida to Donald Trump. Actually, a little bit more than half of all of the House members there have already endorsed Donald Trump. This is DeSantis' home state. Lee Zeldin is a heavy hitter, and is not currently in office. He ran for the gubernatorial slot and lost. But he ran in a state that is massively, solidly blue, and he came relatively close. He was actually viable. There were people that were predicting that he would win, including mainline commentators. I personally did not. I saw the writing on the wall and said, look, he's going to do a lot better historically than other people that have run against a Dem in New York for the gubernatorial slot, but it's not going to happen. He will come close, though. He will remain a force in politics. His endorsement, in my opinion, does actually matter far more than most people's. What's happening in Rumble? There, I'm still live. As far as I know, I'm gonna here. Look, I'm still there. Just a second. I might be having a technical difficulty. Oh, yeah, I'm still there. There's more of a delay, though, it appears. Some people are complaining the volume is gone. I don't seem to be having a problem. Ozzy's robots, optics aside, Biden could pardon Hunter and himself. Yeah, well, he can't pardon himself, as we've heard from the liberal media, but he could pardon Hunter. Iggy the Incubus, forget off his rocker. Joe's fallen off the porch the rocker was on and is currently rolling down the driveway towards the road. And the Grizzly. Last one, I want to inject a little bit of hope. Trump getting denied 24 would be a setback. But I think the movement he created long outlasts him. MAGA will come back in a different form. MAGA is the Tea Party's revenge. Yes, but it requires people to do footwork, and people tend to be very reluctant to do that. 8 Veenstra, what would a Biden versus RFK Jr. debate look like? And what are Biden's odds to the Dem nominee? Biden has a 100% chance of being nominated unless he dies or is incapacitated. There is no viable alternative contender. he will get it. He's about as inevitable as Donald Trump getting the Republican nominee again, unless there's a major health issue or something. It would be funny if he debated RFK Jr., but there won't be any debates. And probably in either party. Trump will simply not attend unless DeSantis is up on stage, in which case he'll want to batter him. And Biden won't attend either. I mean, why would you? There's only 2 other candidates that are running. Brian James. Sticks, did you know today is the day that the dirtbag in Seattle, Ainsley, wants to sign into law an emergency assault weapon ban? Expect a big circus. Yeah, but it'll be immediately injuncted, so nobody really cares. By the way, please send no more super chats. I have a few more to go through, and then I've got to get busy. I'm making tuna sandwiches tonight for dinner because I got lazy. I make them the right way, though. Plenty of yummies on them. Josie. I have been living under a rock and never tried curry before. Since I hear you have and had it, do you make your own, and can you recommend a recipe? Just dump curry and everything. It's delicious. I don't make my own curry, although you can. But I use various different kinds. It depends on the dish and how much seasoning I want in it. Just get some good curry from your local co-op if you have one there. You can get it online. You can buy any herb or spice known to man online. Make like a stir fry and put some curry in it, or fried rice or something like that. David Walk. DOJ will cover for Biden, so nothing will happen until he is chucked out of the White House. Yeah, I mean, exactly. There's no possibility in my mind that they might indict Hunter Biden for something, and then it'll actually be good for Joe, because when the Republicans chuckle about it, they'll say, look, the Republicans are mean to him. He's not even in office. There was nothing on the laptop that implicated Joe Biden. They're just obsessed over Hunter Biden. They've been astroturfing this for years, by the way. Early life check. UFOs are fake and gay. Project Bluebeam incoming. Oh, no, the UFOs, anything floating around in the sky you can't identify. I'm just saying they're not aliens. Gigamango Fanta. Seems like even a paid asset like Tucker with his milquetoast takes was too much for the people in charge of Fox. Sorry for changing that term, by the way, for YouTube TOS purposes. Like Murdoch and Soros to tolerate any longer. Such salt from the guy is hilarious. F. Winters Lodig 152. Do you think Tucker on a new network will have the same public influence he had at Fox? Arguably more, actually. If he starts like a Rumble channel, probably have 5 million fucking followers in a day. Might crash the site. Could be a problem for the rest of us. Richard Reynolds, $5 for Little Sticks. Thank you. Saber Aran. Jokes aside, is there any way to show leftists are bad and crazy without looking like J6 saloons? This double standard is killing me. Can't have a conversation. Yeah, just show footage of them showing their ass. Figuratively speaking, of course. You wouldn't want to see it literally. Be all covered in poop, probably, from all of the drugs. But yeah, just if you want to show that they're crazy, just look up crazy things that they've done and then show people them. Instead of going out and being like them, which clearly is not going to work, be above them and show yourself as different. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to go offline now. Thank you to the over 5,500 people who watched live. I think there were a couple of technical glitches briefly over on Rumble. And to those of you who have watched on Twitter, I do appreciate you too, but keep in mind, until I have a different setup, I can't actually read what you're saying while I'm also going through all my news tabs. I just don't have enough room on my screen. I need another screen, a better camera at some point, and better microphone, because people always complain about that as well. By the way, if you only saw how much cat hair was caked on my leg right now, it's literally unholy. That's about all.